Okay, so I'm definitely a little late on this one because I did see Black Panther Wakanda Forever like a week ago. Twice, actually. Um, but yeah, these will be my maybe spoiler filled thoughts. Actually, not spoiler filled. I'm gonna keep this spoiler free, but yeah. Let's talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I really liked this movie. Like I have been I've been kind of let down by much of Phase 4. Um Particularly this year really. I haven't outside of Moon Knight, I haven't like really liked anything that they've done this year. She-Hulk was terrible. Just gonna put that out there. I thought that show was just really bad. What else came out this year? The Multiverse of Madness. I think it was just a spectacular disappointment. Love and Thunder. I enjoyed it. Still not that great. Miss Marvel. I don't know what happened there. It was just a mess of a season. Even Moon Knight. Like I liked Moon Knight a lot, but it wasn't flawless. And still had some of the problems that some of the other shows had. I Am Groot was a thing that came out. It was totally unnecessary. It was cute, but still unnecessary. And then Werewolf by Night was pretty good. That's the other one that I enjoyed. And then there's the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which I assume is going to be a lot of fun because it's Guardians of the Galaxy and it's James Gunn and it's Christmas. So I unless it's like spectacularly boring, which I doubt. I assume it's going to be a lot of fun, but I haven't seen that yet, obviously. Either way, this movie, I thought it was excellent. Like, I'll get some of the flaws out of the way first. It is pretty long. There are some points where you kind of start to feel the length, but it all feels like it should be there. So it's not a huge issue. And then because there's so much happening in the movie, there is a little bit of clunkiness in the story. That I don't know if it could have been like removed, but it is kind of there. Superficially, I think some of the costumes looked kind of dumb. As you move into the third act, there's some like suits in there that I think just look kind of stupid, and not that cool. There's one that was giving me major Big Hero 6 vibes. If you have not seen the movie, if you have seen the movie, you might know what I'm talking about. I don't know. But honestly, those were pretty much my only problems with the movie. I thought it was really good. So because this movie had to like, I assume you can kind of see how the story would have worked if T'Challa had been the lead character, but that was not the case, unfortunately. I was not sure how they were gonna even attempt to make this movie after that, because like that's just such a blow. So how do you move on from there? And I think that's a difficult task that Ryan Coogler was given, and I think they pulled it off really well. Like they incorporated his death into the story really well in a way that doesn't feel cheap. Obviously this wasn't the original intention, but like you can see how the story would have played out without T'Challa in there, and I don't know how the movie would have worked because you had to add in a lot of stuff with his death, them mourning him, all that sort of thing. And I think they worked it into the story very well. Like it fits surprisingly well with what they were going for with the characters, the nation of Wakanda as a whole. And that's another interesting thing that the movie goes into, like because of the announcement in the mid-credit scene of the first movie, there's going to be repercussions to that, and I think the movie does that in an interesting way with like other countries, and you get the whole Namor stuff in there that I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I think the way they handled like the politics of everything that would happen because of what T'Challa did in the first movie, I think was done well. Um, and the way they show these characters grieving his loss is also done well, and it feels natural for them. Um, I think Shuri in particular got a very good arc throughout this movie. She's just kind of mad because of how exactly her brother's death played out and how she was not able to do much to assist him. So that was, I think it was a very emotional character arc that she went through. The performance was excellent. The performances across the board here, spectacular. Like Angela Bassett, whoa. Tena Huerta, I no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but hopefully I am. But yeah, he was fantastic in the movie. You know, just every performance, excellent. I think they bring Nakia back into the fold nicely, and they tie her into stuff. You know, with T'Challa's death, it makes sense that you want to see her after that because he was like the love of her life. You know, and you know, Okoye, the mom, they everybody gets to like process it in their own way, while also dealing with the how his death would tie into everything going on with the nation of Wakanda and everybody, you know, wanting the vibranium. And I think the movie presents some interesting conflicts in there, and that is where we would get to Namor, because the way they tie in Namor to all this, like, the search for vibranium, I thought it was cool. I wasn't sure how they were going to do this, like, suddenly bringing in this underwater kingdom into the nation of Wakanda, and I think they did it really well. Plus, Namor's an awesome villain. He was just cool. I mean, his motivations aren't the most original when compared to some of the other Marvel villains. He's still a really cool villain. I think the performance, as I said earlier, was fantastic. He looks cool, and I really like the way they used like Mesoamerican culture to create this kind of new-ish type story for him, because I don't know much about Namor in the comics, but from what I understand, it's just Atlantis in the comics. It's not Talokan or the kingdom in this movie. But I can only assume that they changed that so they would avoid some similarities to Aquaman. Because, I mean, that's fair. Aquaman got a little bit of heat for being too similar to Black Panther, even though it was in the comic origins. And this is underwater, so, you know. Yeah, I think the way they did his backstory was interesting. He was charming while still being, like, really menacing on screen. He's just shown to be an incredibly strong being and ruthless as well, which is, like, yeah, that's a problem, because he's like, you know, he's doing all this bad stuff. He's invading places, he's attacking things. So yeah, overall, very cool villain. I'm gonna talk about Ironheart a little bit. She was cool. I thought she was entertaining. The actress just she brought some fun personality to the role, and I'd be completely fine with seeing more of her, and we are. She's getting her own show next year, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with her with that. I mean, there's with her in this movie, there's not a whole lot of like emotional investment, but I mean, the movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it's a Black Panther movie, and the main star died. The lead character died. So I feel like it's not a huge problem that there's not a ton of emotional investment in this one character that is gonna get her own 6-episode show where there's plenty of time for emotional investment. Here, it smartly focuses on Wakanda and T'Challa, rightfully so. So, yeah, I thought she was a fun character to be added into the mix. She surprisingly fit pretty well in the movie. Like, it wasn't just like a random throwaway character. I've actually, the way they used her was actually kind of similar to America Chavez in Multiverse of Madness, except she's a character that I'm going to remember and am glad to be getting more of. I don't dislike America Chavez. She's fine. I don't remember much about her. She was a plot device in the movie. I did not really. I don't remember much about her. She's just eh. She, I mean, she wasn't the worst part of that movie. Don't get me wrong, but she was also just kind of one of the more forgettable parts of that movie. Anyway, yeah, I think Ironheart was just used in a very nice way. The action in here, oh man, the first movie, some of the action, some of it was fine. I liked some of it quite a bit. Other parts of it was not great. The chasing in like maybe the middle of the movie, where they first met up with Everett Ross, that, or they're trying to do something with Ulysses Claw. That chase scene looked kind of iffy. And then you get into the climax and you got the war rhinos that I think looked okay, but then like the fight between Killmonger and T'Challa, it did not look that good. So I think the action in this film, it looks bigger. Like this movie just seems like a much larger production in terms of scope than the first movie. There are a couple moments where the CGI and some of the green screen, like with Namor like flying around, where it doesn't look the best, but honestly, compared to the rest of Phase 4, I'll take what I can get at this point. Yeah, it's one of the better looking movies of the Phase, I'd say. But honestly, a lot of the Phase 4 movies have had that, where there's been like some moments of like really awesome visual effects, and then there's a couple where it's just like, what? But this movie's, some of the weaker moments of CGI are still better than some of the weaker moments of CGI in like Multiverse of Madness and Love and Thunder. And I will say this, even the weaker moments of CGI here look better than every shot in She-Hulk, so take that as you will. That's just my new excuse for Marvel movies not looking that great now, unless they look like really terrible. My new defense is just, at least it's better than She-Hulk. I don't like She-Hulk. I really don't. But anyway, we're talking about a good 2022 Phase 4 MCU project right now. Even with like some of the spectacle that the movie has in there, I mean, it's a Marvel movie. Of course there's going to be some spectacle, and there is a lot of it, and rightfully so. This is a technologically advanced nation, I get that, but all of that doesn't take away from the emotion of the story. Oh man, I have longed to say that for a while, because so much of the time in some of these recent Marvel projects, like the action has kind of been like, ooh, cool spectacle CGI stuff. Ooh, and then it's just like, well, yeah, but why do I care about anything that's going on? I don't know. Even in some like the Star Wars stuff too. Like Andor. Why do so many people love Andor so much? It's not the worst thing in the world. It's fine. Like, there's some interesting stuff that happens. But for goodness sakes, it takes so long. Everything is dragged out. And like, so much of the time, like, they're either not explaining what's going on, or I don't get what's going on, or like, it's just, the dialogue is like on point, but sometimes it's not clear what's happening. I don't know. I'll probably make some sort of video about it when the show wraps up. But for real, I don't get the love for Andor. I don't get it. The spectacle in this movie does not take away from the emotion of the story. Like, it's still a deeply powerful story about grief, about loss, and I think every character gets a moment, at least one moment, to be like, to just kind of let all of it sink in. The performances all work really well in this movie, and just the core of the story is so emotional, and like it fits with the movie so well. It's just such a great experience that I had. So aside from No Way Home, this is far and away my favorite project of Phase 4. And as for whether or not I think it's better than the first movie, I think it is a little bit better than the first movie, because I really, really liked the first movie, but I just had some small issues like the action and CGI that do kind of hold it back a little bit. And this movie isn't without its flaws, but I still thought it was really, really effective at what it was going for. And for goodness sakes, watch this movie. It's emotional, it's powerful. If you liked the first movie even at all, or if you just like the MCU, even if you're tired of the MCU, even if you've been watching it recently and you're like, oh, jeez, this is not good. All this is just, there's so much stuff coming out. Watch this movie. I don't know, it might not win you back fully because, I mean, this is just one movie, but seriously, check it out. Like, it's really good. As for, like, grading stuff, do I do that very often? I don't know. I would give this one an A minus. Yeah, I fully recommend it. It is definitely one of my favorite things in Phase 4. One of the better MCU projects recently, and it is so much better than every Marvel project that's come out this year. And like every comic book movie that's come out this year too. I actually filmed the 2022 comic book movies ranking, but it was not good. And I changed my opinions also. So, yeah. Yeah, I filmed it like right after I saw Wakanda Forever the first time, and I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out in a more defined way, like I'm doing here in this video that's like, wow, that's 20 minutes long. I'm gonna wrap this up. So, yeah, I really, really, really like. You know what? Enough with the reallys. I love this movie. I thought it was excellent. Like, it paid really nice tribute to Chadwick Boseman. It looks fantastic. The story is deeply emotional, and it's like it incorporates a lot of like political stuff, and I think it does it really well. Pretty much everything the movie goes for, it does very, very well. So yeah, without a doubt, one of my favorite things in Phase 4. So, comment your own thoughts on the film down below. Thanks for watching, and keep calm, and watch on.